Welcome to my channel. This is JC Rock and Metal Reviews. My name is John, and today I have a new album review by the band Evile. The name of the album is called Hell Unleashed. So before I begin, if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button so you get updated whenever I release a new video. So I discovered this band a few years ago, and the way I discovered them was one day I was looking for some new music. So I googled the term bands that sound like early Metallica, and the name of this band came up, and this is actually a true story. So I basically looked up the band, and I listened to their first album, Enter the Grave, and I really liked it, and I listened to their second album, Infected Nations, and since then I have been a fan of this band. They have this old school thrash metal sound, so if you're a fan of early Metallica or other bands like Testament or Sepultura, I think you would really like this band. This band also incorporates some elements of death metal on this latest release. So if you really like heavy music, I think you would really like this band and like this album. So like I said, this band does have a big early Metallica influence. And it comes from the fact that the band started out with two friends from school, and they started a Metallica tribute band. But this band eventually evolved into the band Evile. The band was actually named Exile at first, but they changed it after finding out that many other bands did have that same name. Hell Unleashed is their fifth studio album and is their first since 2013, which is their first album in 8 years. And they started working on this album back in 2016, but the band did have some internal problems. Their lead guitarist, whose name is Piers Donofuller, he left the band due to commitment issues. And they had one of their former members, whose name is Oliver Drake. He came back to the band. And then they announced that their lead vocalist, Matt Drake, left the band, so he needed to be replaced. So the previous lead guitarist, whose name is Oliver Drake, he took over as the lead vocalist for this album. They then signed to Napalm Records, and they announced this album in February of 2021. So this album does have a slightly more aggressive edge than their previous albums. They did opt for more of a death metal influence, mixed with some early Sepultura. You know, some of the songs are fast and heavy, but they do slow it down at times. There's even one cover song, and I'm going to be talking about all that right now. The first song is called Paralysed, and it's what you expect. It's fast and it's heavy. The vocals are very aggressive. You don't really notice the change of vocalist that much. The song has a really nice bass sound. You can hear it very clearly. And the song has everything you would ask for in a thrash metal song. It has complex riffs, it has breakdowns, it has some fast solos, it has some really good drum sounds. And you can definitely hear the death metal influence, specifically towards the end of the song. The next song is called Gore, and this features Brian Posehn. And you might think it's an odd choice to have him on a song since, you know him as an actor and a comedian, and you probably know him from the Big Bang Theory sitcom, but Brian is actually a metal musician, and he recorded albums, but they were mostly comedy albums or parody metal albums. But this song does remind me of an old school Metallica song, has some heavy chords in the intro, and the riff just moves out like a galloping, a thrash metal riff. Now the only issue with this is that I couldn't really hear Brian Posehn anywhere in the song. Supposedly he did backing vocals, and I watched the music video for it and he didn't really appear at all, but supposedly he was there. So if you know anything more about this, let me know in the comment section. The third track is called Incarcerated, and I like this one a lot because it starts off with some clean guitars and a melodic solo. I really get a Megadeth vibe with the intro, something like In My Darkest Hour, but the song just changes and it becomes a really aggressive thrash death metal hybrid type of song. That's some really cool galloping riffs. The breakdown, this is really incredible and probably one of my favorite parts of the album. And I also like how they changed tempos towards the end, and it just really kept things interesting. This is actually probably my favorite song from the album. Now I'm not going to go through this track by track, but I will talk about a few more songs. So one song I like is called The Thing 1982, and that was inspired by a John Carpenter movie of the same name. The song has some really crunchy riffs, The song is fast and heavy, and it does have some really like a chunky breakdown. And it's just one of those songs that's like perfect for getting like the mosh pit going, if it ever does get played live. After that is a song called Zombie Apocalypse, and this is a cover song recorded by the band Mortician, and they are a death grind band from New York. The song is very like slow and doomy at times, and very like fast and furious at others. It's a short song, but they pack like a lot of like movement into like 2.5 minutes. The riffs are really heavy. I really like the drums. There's a really nice like cymbal sound, and the lyrics are really cool. It kind of like paints the picture of like during a zombie attack. I really like that part about it. The last song is the title track called Hell Unleashed, and this has some strange like scary sound effects, but this one really ends with a bang. It's really fast, it's super heavy, has some really nice chunky riffs. Reminds me of some of the like early Slayer songs. That is it. In conclusion, I think this album would be good for we all know that like metal fan who believes that Metallica hasn't put out a good album since 1988. Like that person would like it, or just anybody in general who was a fan of early thrash metal like Testament, Overkill, Slayer. I feel this album incorporates a lot of death metal elements. I can hear an influence from an album like Scream Bloody Gore by Death. The album is very heavy, it is fast, the production sounds great, you hear the bass very clearly, the drums sound really good. Overall, it's a great album, and in this day and age when heavy metal music has branched out into so many different subgenres, it's really good to hear a new band that's releasing music that goes back to its roots. More specifically, it's like thrash metal roots, like from the 80s. For that reason, I will give this album a 9 out of 10. I enjoyed it a lot. I feel it's a very solid album, and it does showcase the evolution of the band's sound. So that's it. Next week, probably tomorrow, I'll have my Offspring ranking video. I'll start to work on a Gojira ranking video, maybe this week or next week. And I was asked by a subscriber to follow up on my UFO ranking, so I will do them more like later releases for the band UFO. So that's coming up, and I got some new releases over the weekend. As always, please check out the in-video links. They will be right over there, and I will see you in the next one.